welcome to this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us uh, Craig Cooke. He is an author and consultant for business and energetic practices, and we'll talk about his book, Business Kung Fu, Modern Strategy, Ancient Truth, Your Success. Let's dive into the story behind the story. Welcome to the show, Craig.
Thank you, AJ. It's great to be back. Thank you so much for having me back. And I like that intro that you have. That's pretty cool.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show once again. Craig, welcome to this time on the Author's Voice with KJ. So we'll talk about your book. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey towards becoming an author. It can be a very busy life for people, especially with you. You've been, building your company, then, that getting acquired by someone else, and then you're working. So all these things take a lot of time, and your mind altogether. How did this book thing happen in between? It happened suddenly, or you had a plan? Tell us the inspiration or the story behind this particular story.
Yes, so it definitely took quite a while. Now, books were my very first passion in life. And as soon as I could read, I always had a book in front of me, always reading. When I was a teenager, I thought, oh, I'd like to write a book one day, but didn't know what. Then fast forward to 2011, I got the concept for Business Kung Fu. And I thought, okay, yeah, this will be good. This will be good. And in 2011, I was, running my company, and we were starting to hit a really strong growth stride. We landed on the Inc. 5000 list here in America, the fastest growing private companies in America, 5 years in a row, starting in 2012. So I was very busy running the company, and I started writing the book at that time, 2011, and was writing a little bit, but it took me 12 years to get it finished. And it wasn't until I sold my company and actually left after a few years, and I actually had the time to finish the rest of the book. I had maybe a little more than half of it done. And then I said, okay, I have the time. I gotta get this done. So I finally did get it done and released it, towards the end of 2023. Yeah. So here we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so let's talk about the book itself. Here we have got the book on the screen, Business Kung Fu. Why business and Kung Fu at the same time here? How does Kung Fu come in? Tell us a bit about this particular book. The title looks good, but I want to understand it exactly from you, Craig.
Yes, thank you for that. And the title does catch a lot of people's interest. They, oh, wow, that's interesting. What's that about? And it's not just a title. There's real substance behind it. So I studied Chinese Kung Fu starting when I was 17 years old, and it really had an immense impact on my life, really getting me on a positive direction, altering my mindset, and learning, really bringing out the inherent discipline that I had, but just wasn't applying myself, and all these other lessons. So when I started my company at the age of 25, I took these principles that I learned from Kung Fu and I started applying it to how I was thinking about the company. Not only my mindset, a winning mindset, but how a foundation needed to be built, which is chapter 1 of the book, building a foundation, and also how to think about an integrated approach, not just one thing, but an integrated approach of various components working together to solve problems. And the discipline, of course. And there's a whole bunch of things in the book that essentially parallels what I learned in studying Chinese Kung Fu and actually applied it to running my company.
Absolutely. So tell us a bit more. What's inside the book? The cover we talked about, the story we talked about. What's inside the book, Craig?
Right. So one thing that's inside the book that a lot of people really like, I have this model for success, a success framework called the 5 elements of success. It looks like so. So this is based on 5-element theory, and it comes from the Chinese culture. It's a philosophy that's thousands of years old, and there's 5 elements that are fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And through those elements and how they interact with each other and the cycles that they go about, and that there needs to be a balance of these elements. My understanding of that from Kung Fu, and also from studying Chinese energetic medicine, which we'll probably get into in a little bit, I identified 5 elements that contribute to success. And that's based on my own personal experience, my understanding of this model, and then my observation of other people and their successes and failures, my successes and failures. So I identified 5 elements that contribute to success that you can see here. And they are passion, which leads to discipline, which leads to expertise, which leads to confidence that extends to faith, and then the cycle continues. And it's a model that a lot of people are really intrigued by, actually. And then there's other things about focus and breaking through barriers and so forth that, again, I have principles that I learned from Chinese Kung Fu and applied it.
Absolutely. So who is this book for, Craig?
Yeah, that's another great question. So initially, I really wrote it for entrepreneurs, and especially entrepreneurs that say are in their first, say, 5 years of building their business. Because to me, through my experience, the first 5 years was the hardest. It was really brutal. I'm sure, with the work that you do, right? I'm sure you can understand the time that it takes and how much energy and effort you put into it. And you have to be very patient to get the results for the effort that you're putting forth. So it's really, the sweet spot is there because it's essentially at its core, it's a mindset book. And in that first 5 years, you need to have a winning mindset. However, through a lot of the reviews I've been getting, it's interesting. A lot of people have said, not only is this a great book for business, but it's a great roadmap for life. And it's funny because I didn't intend that. But after I started getting all these reviews and feedback, I was like, well, yeah, of course, because the principles are universal and they can be applied to various aspects in life, just like the 5 element of success model.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people who do not have heard only about Kung Fu and also know about business, how would they relate with this particular topic in the way the topic is and the way the things are in the book? Say someone sitting in one corner of India or in another part of the world, even in the US, how would they understand this that you are trying them to understand? What is it that you want them to understand from your book, Craig?
I want them to understand that having a winning mindset is essential to success. And that's where it starts, with the mind. However, you also need to engage the entire being, your body and your spirit. And you need to take action and go through the necessary steps to build a foundation to not only for yourself, but for your business, and have certain skill sets that you need to work on and build up and employ discipline. And at some point, you need to develop a superpower, what I refer to as a discipline technique, something that you can really become a master at. And essentially, it's about becoming a master of your craft. And with that, you can build up the confidence that you need to sell and lead people and all that. And with that 5 element model, having faith, because being an entrepreneur is extremely challenging and you will be tested to your limit. And it's that faith that gets you to overcome your greatest challenges.
Absolutely. So these times are very, from 2023 to 2025, almost at the doors of 2026, the times are, very different. ChatGPT 5 is there, then more versions will come. AI is coming in very strongly, Craig. And the future looks, the great resignation, we are still dealing with, coming from 2020 onwards, quiet quitting. Amidst all these things, businesses are trying to understand, the workforce, employees are trying to understand the future of work, the future, the companies will take that particular road, whatever road it is. How does that book answers? Does your book answer any of these problems for them? How should they, the leaders of today, who are also going to be leaders of tomorrow, how should they make use of the wisdom that's in your book, Craig?
That's a great question, because yes, the times are very interesting. Not only for the past 5 years, but especially the last couple of years with the advent of AI becoming really mainstream, all the things that you mentioned. And there's all this uncertainty about the future, with everything that's happening. So there's a method that I mentioned in my book called SCRAW, which was a fighting method that I learned in martial arts. And it stands for spontaneous, creative, rhythmic adaptation. So when in times like this where there's uncertainty, you really have to be able to adapt, right? There's that adaptation, and you might be in a certain pattern, right? A rhythmic pattern. And with all the advent of this new stuff, you can't get stuck in that pattern. You have to change the song, is the way I like to say it. Change the song, establish a new rhythm. And you got to apply your creative mind to problem solve, and you have to be able to do that spontaneously. So I kind of reversed it, went backwards into it, but spontaneous, creative, rhythmic adaptation method. So if you have that at top of mind as you approach problems and economic trends, technological trends, business trends, you keep that method employed, it'll serve you well. And you need it more than ever now, because we're all trying to figure this out. But it's interesting, with every technological evolution that comes about throughout human history, there's a lot of displacement, disruption, a lot of panic. But humans, through their creativity, seem to create new needs, new demands, where then there's new services or products that need to come about to meet those demands. So it's going to be interesting. This is like unprecedented what we're going into. So it's going to be very interesting. But I do have faith in humanity that we're going to be creative problem solvers and figure it out.
Absolutely. One question more to dig deep into this is, earlier, whatever innovations, whatever new changes came in the past, those were more about efficiency, making our lives easy and all. But this time, a lot of people, individuals, businesses, their customers, they are wanting to understand the purpose of a particular thing that one is doing. Leaders are struggling with this word. Companies are trying to understand it. Employees are trying to understand it. And even customers are trying to understand the purpose of a company first, and then whether they want to engage with that company, whether it is trying to achieve that purpose in the right way. Profit is not just that big purpose anymore. How do you solve that big question of purpose for all so many gamuts of business? How does that get answered in your book?
That's a great question, because you almost wouldn't expect it to be in my book. But I do talk about brand strategy in my book, and I give some examples of my own personal company. And one of the things that was extremely important was to define a purpose for the organization. And that purpose really needed to serve a society, have a higher benefit towards society, as opposed to just making profit, right? So, for example, in my book, we had a purpose, which was to really act as facilitators between companies that provide products and services that meet the needs, wants, and desires of the marketplace. And we were facilitators to enable those transactions to take place. And acting as facilitators, we are then helping to create a rhythm of life. My company's name was a rhythm of life that enabled freedom, peace, and prosperity. And I would go into explaining why with every employee that came on board. Well, what do you mean? We're just moving pixels on the screen? Like, no, we're not. This is what it means. And there's a longer discussion as to what that truly means. But that was the higher purpose. So then the work matters. It's not just showing up every day and moving pixels around on the screen. And some days get tough. There might be some demands of a client or some sort of vendor that's given us problems, right? And it becomes tough and challenging. But having that in the back of your mind, long hours, whatever, it helps people to think, well, there is a higher purpose here to what my work matters. And that really helps you get through the tougher times too. It's really important.
Absolutely, absolutely, Craig. So, in a nutshell, what do you want readers of your book to take away? What key insight, key message do you want readers of your book to take with them?
I want them to take with them that on their entrepreneurial journey, they can overcome any challenge they face. And they just need to go out there and kick ass. Essentially, that's how I end the book pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a book of being able to inspire and empower people that they can overcome.
Absolutely. So this is one book, Craig. Any more book you are thinking of in the pipeline? Anything else that you are doing you want the world to know about, Craig?
Sure. I do have a couple ideas of follow-on books, actually. I think I'm going to dive into the 5-element of success model in much more detail, just because so many people are very interested in it. And then another book I'm going to be probably working on too is just with my energetic practices and how that comes into play. And I do have a new website coming out soon, craigcooke.com. So CRAIG and then COOKE.com. It should be coming out any day. And it's presenting how I'm integrating everything that I do as an author, speaker, business mentor, and a doctor of Chinese energetic medicine, and how it all comes together. I also started offering some classes online. There's a self-directed course that gives you a sample of what that can be. And then I also teach live Qigong programs online as well. The intro to Qigong program, and then also a Qigong for business professionals. So it's I'm doing a lot and I'm bringing it all together. It's taking time and to do all this, and just kind of like what we talked about earlier in the beginning of the show here, but it's all great stuff.
Absolutely. So your website is the best place for people to connect with you.
Yes, the website. I'm also on LinkedIn, so a lot of people connect with me through LinkedIn, and it's just Craig Cooke. If people just Google my name or search my name, I come up all over the place. But yeah, LinkedIn, and then my websites. I have a few websites actually. So I have the new one coming out, craigcooke.com, like I mentioned. But I also have C2energymedicine.com that's focused on the energy medicine. And then I have c2pro.io, which is really more focused on the business mentorship.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.